I want to start in the Big 12. That's where I really want to be right now. Because I got a take for the ACC that I'm not even sure I'm ready to make. So
Woo, I can't
I got
wait
to
for you
kind
to
of
defend that.
I got to kind of brace myself before we get there. So I guess I'll start in the Big 12. Looking at a bunch of the win totals this year, the one that stood out to me as the most achievable, and I know if you've been listening to the podcast, you're probably going to go ahead and say, "Oh my gosh, this is so on brand. He's just yapping again," and they're going to start to kick me out. But it's the Utah Utes. All right, newcomers to the Big 12 this year. Utah shows up. And let me tell you, they didn't just get like a kind of nice hand from the conference. They got, I mean, a buttery smooth, super soft, easy to work through schedule this year. I want to talk about Utah for just a second, though, like in terms of what they're bringing back. Obviously, Kyle Whittingham, one of the best coaches, I think, currently in college football. We talked about some of the best coaches, so you can go back a couple episodes and see that as well. But man, last year it just felt like they were a quarterback away from actually being a good football team. The quarterback play that they had last year coming out of Bryson Barnes and Nate Johnson was just not D1 quarterback play. It was bad. It was really bad. I mean, you can maybe get away with it at some of those low level, G5 teams, but man, it was just bad quarterback play for the Utes. And this Utah defense, right, on the other side of the field, they came in as the 19th best scoring defense, and this is a Utah team that still found a way to scratch out 8 wins on the season out of nowhere. I have no idea how they got to that number. And so, I think there's big things ahead for Utah, especially considering Cam Rising coming back for his 76th year of college football and, and just coming back to play once again. But he's coming back. He's a veteran. He's plenty talented. He's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in that entire conference. And when he's on the field, he's going to be able to weather whatever storms they're having to face, right? If they have to go to, a raucous environment like late in the season, he's going to be able to pull them through that and stay composed and keep them rolling. And so, I think that Utah is going to be a really solid team this year. But you combine everything that they have with a really light schedule. I'm going to kind of read it out for a second. Southern Utah to start the year, Baylor, that's at home, Utah State. They go to Logan to play that one. And then it's at Oklahoma State. That's kind of the first place you could see them slip up. The one reason I think that they actually have a bit of an advantage there is they play a physical style of football, and Oklahoma State is driven by Ollie Gordon, and that's kind of it. And so if they can shut down Ollie Gordon, which I know there's a whole, what do you mean shut down Ollie Gordon? He's a stud. But if you can find a way to just shut it down, manage it, right, keep it controlled, a modest game for him, then I think that they can walk out of Stillwater with the win. Arizona, that's in Salt Lake City. That's going to be a game as well with a lot of talent. But again, losing Jed Fish is going to hurt Arizona in that game. It'll still be early on in the season. That game's still in September, so maybe not everything has quite clicked for Arizona at that point. And then, I mean, find me a loss after this. It goes Arizona State, TCU, Houston, BYU, Colorado, Iowa State. Not a whole lot of chances to slip up there. And they do finish with a tricky game at UCF. But like I said, I think that you can count on Cam to kind of steer the ship there and keep them afloat. So I think a really physical, a really strong defense combined with a veteran guy back on the offensive side to kind of get them back out of their funk. I think you could see this team go, almost undefeated next year, if not go ahead and sweep through the Big 12 in their first year.
Yeah, I think this is a fantastic pick. They're the highest ranked team to in the Big 12 and the S&P plus, and they only play 3 teams in the top 30 of the S&P plus on their schedule. And 2 of those are at home. So they have
Yeah.
Oklahoma State, they've got Arizona, and they've got Iowa State, and
Mm-hmm.
2 of those 3 are at home, right? So
Yeah.
I think this is a really favorable schedule for the Utes, and I think you're right there. I think they're the odds-on favorite to win the Big 12, and I think that is a really easy bet right now. You can get Utah to make the college football playoff plus 310 on FanDuel right now.
Wow.
That means you bet $100, you win what, 310.
Yep.
So if my remembering of what that means is right, but
I
it's
believe so,
really
yeah.
good odds. It's
Yeah.
over 3-1 odds to make the college football playoff, and they get an auto bid if they win the conference. So
Mhm.
they can even have an oopsie as long as they
And
win the conference championship game. They're in, and you win that bet.
I was gonna say, even without, I still think they can get an at large with 12 teams. I mean, if you're, 11-1 and or I guess you would be if you had lost it, maybe 11-2, 11-2, but an appearance in the conference championship game, something like that. I still think you can find your way in with just those two losses and being a guy who was in the conference championship game, especially if you do it with some kind of really strong effort somewhere, right? Like if the quarterback plays really good, or if it's like just a strong defense the whole year and they're like, oh, yeah, we got to reward great defense, right? Like you could see that either way. And I think that I think it's a great spot for Utah. And I think this is going to be a fun year, number one, for Whittingham and his crew.
Man, I am traveling to some legal sports wagering states here in a few weeks, and I might need to lay a few dollars on that
And
Utah to
I might
college
need
football
to
playoff
Venmo
bet.
you.
Yeah, absolutely. Hit me up on Twitter if you need a Venmo too.
Gracious him.